So this all originates from our favorite poster, Galzo, where he was saying that Yu-Gi-Oh at the moment is less skillful. The skill gap is narrowed due to Shifter, Charmies, Dogwoods, pros who work hard consistently top are making less top cuts due to Konami's design approach of promoting necessary evils. Printing extremely powerful unchecked decks and then the parallel printing cards that will win you the game by drawing them. Neither Snake Eye Ash nor Shifter are okay as they are both too powerful. This is where balancing comes into the picture as is nowhere to be seen. Konami wants a wider array of players a chance of competing, and that's why skill drain is at 3. That's why Shifter is at 3 even though it's so obviously bad. That's why they print more Charmies. This is why Tenpai and Gimmick Puppets are designed so badly. This is where I kind of had an issue with. I don't like the fact that people get so up in a twist about, yeah, pro players aren't topping as much as they should have. And they're like, yeah, top cut should only be pro players and people who've dedicated their lives to the game and blah, 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 blah. And that's why I posted this. Yu-Gi-Oh should be a game 100% based on skill and skill alone. We are playing a card game. This game by nature is based on variance, and even in the most skillful formats, games are going to be decided by RNG. And if that fact bothers you, go play chess, which is a game with perfect information. So obviously not a lot of people agreed with me because it's a pretty controversial take to say like, yeah, card games by nature are not mainly skillful. You could get there, like, let's be fucking real. You could get to like a YCS top if you have a basic understanding of your deck and you get extremely lucky. Like, a Tenpai player can very easily make day 2 of Nationals and YCSs if they get very lucky. Even if, like, Snake Eye didn't exist, and, like, Shifter didn't exist, and, like, blah, 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 blah. Variance should be in the deck randomness and not the gameplay itself. Well, unfortunately, the gameplay itself is directly correlated, tied into deck randomness. Let's do a quick breakdown on what, you know, deck building and deck randomness actually does look like. Like, when you look at a Snake Eye deck list, this is the list that Trish got 2nd place with. This is a very, very standard deck list where it's just like, I am going to play maximum copies of everything, and if I draw it, I draw it, and if I don't draw it, it's fine because I've got like 20 fucking hand traps backing me up. That's what the current format is sort of designed to be like. It's what it's pushed to be like. You are supposed to be playing 20 hand traps in order to guarantee an ability to go second, and you are just supposed to be playing the most tight engines possible. That's why like people playing like 2 Poplar, like the 1 Flamberge Dragon, like only 1 Tract, only 1 Lurie, you know, stuff like that. And I think that for the most part, that is a completely fair and valid way of assessing the format. Sometimes you just have to be like, I'm going to make certain concessions on certain matchups. Like this deck list does not respect back row or stun at all. It's just like, if I get matched up against it, I'm probably gonna lose. So let's just like do our best and pray to God we win those dice rolls. But the same can be said when it comes to something like Mimigul, which is a deck that I sort of designed, where this deck plays 17 floodgates in the main. And yes, that's including Mimigul done. Playing Dungeon, we're playing Shifter, playing Dai-Fi, we're playing Summoning Curse, we're playing Power Sink Stone, we're playing Tikapoo, we're playing Gozen Match. Like you can say it's a poorly constructed deck, and I would 100% agree. This deck fucking sucks dick. It's Mimigul. What did you expect? But for the most part, this is a deck where the primary game plan of this deck is to try and scam wins out of your opponent. And the same can go for Tenpai. Tenpai is a deck where you are just trying to throw 50 hand traps at your opponent and then normal summon 1 Chandra and then win the game on the spot. Mimigul is a deck where you're just trying to like hand loop your opponent and then try and floodgate them in a simplified board state, and they realize that they can't play anymore. However, there isn't any real difference when it comes to, you know, in these decks, opening Shifter, opening Rivalry, opening Floodgate, opening like Runic Tip or whatever, relative to, you know, a deck opening like a Snake Eye Ash, or a deck opening like a Fiendsmith Engraver or a Dia Bellstar. These cards are all doing the exact same thing, just on opposite sides of the spectrum, where like one of these is doing a full combo and one of these is saying, haha, you can't do your combo. That would also apply to opening hands. There are a ton of problems with Yu-Gi-Oh right now, but big one is cards doing too many things. Wouldn't mind if every card had the whole can only use 1 effect per turn and only once that turn clause, because Engraver pop, pitch, summon, pop all in 1 turn is a lot. And I agree. One of the big issues with Yu-Gi-Oh right now is how pushed card design is. Think of how like Snake Eye Ash not only searches a body for it to send, but also, you know, has the send effect to summon any one of its archetype out of the deck. Think of how Flamberge not only has the removal effect and special summon effect, but also has the revive effect. Think of how Engraver has the send effect, the search effect, and the ability to special summon itself out of the graveyard. What makes current card design so frustrating is that cards do so much that cards have to be printed in order to counteract these cards doing so much. And I think that's what Konami actually kind of wants to do in regards to their design philosophy. Because when you look at like the White Forest cards, like LZ plus Tails is basically basically like an FTK combo, because like LZ you send Tails and then you add Astellar, then Tails sets itself and then you go Astellar normal summon, then you send that in order to summon like a guy, and it's just like blah 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 blah. You want to fucking blow your brains out. It's this very pronounced issue that we've seen in Yu-Gi-Oh over the past couple of years, where again card design is pushed so crazy so that 1 and 1.5 card combos are just so incredibly powerful that there's almost nothing you could do about it in regards to, you know, just standard gameplay. If you don't open up hands with like, you know, 2, 3, sometimes even 4 hand traps, or if you're not able to open up cards like Dark Ruler, you're not able to open up cards like Perilia in order to basically just luck sack your way out of here. Yo, that tweet you wrote, chess is very similar to Yu-Gi-Oh. Going first is winning. If you're like a pro player at the upper echelons of gameplay, yeah, like I'm not gonna pretend that white in chess doesn't have like a massive inherent advantage, but that's only if both players play at like an extremely hyper optimal level. Like for 90% of players, most players aren't going to be performing at like the optimal level. Like same goes for Yu-Gi-Oh. Variance should be in the game, but it shouldn't manifest as stacking floodgates. If you build your deck around floodgates and blow hand traps, drawing into your 6 and 12 blowouts cards game 2 and 3 and sacking into them isn't sacking into them. It's just statistics and you being a deck builder and being like, I'm gonna play towards my win cons, and you know, you get the idea. The fact of the matter is you can never take luck out of a card game like this, but you can use skill to build your deck in a way in which you can more often capitalize on the luck of the draw and award yourself in technical plays. Skill and luck are toxic yaoi. First of all, what the fuck is toxic yaoi? I'm too straight for this. But second of all, one of the big issues that I found with Yu-Gi-Oh is that you kind of are forced to play every hand. You know what I mean? The best descriptor I could give is like Magic and poker. In Magic, you're at least able to like mulligan your hand in order to like dig deep and try and find your specific answers. Think of like ley lines or force of vigor or whatever. And in poker, you're just able to fold bad hands. Like you see like 2-7 offsuit, like 10-2, you know, like 6-7 suited. By the way, that's a bad hand. I don't care what anyone says. Like you could just fold those and you can just move on. You lose like your blinds, but like who gives a shit? In Yu-Gi-Oh, you draw your hand and like that's it. Like think about how demoralizing it is to be like drawing your hand game 3. You sided in like 20 hand traps because you're like going second in like the Snake Eye mirror, and like you look at your hand and it's all engine and you're like, what the fuck? And your opponent like normal Snake Eye Ash. You're like, you lose the game on the spot. That is where Yu-Gi-Oh becomes extremely frustrating because of how difficult it is to understand that even if you do build your deck in a certain way, sometimes you do just have that too many out syndrome and you're just like, well, we never got there. And that is a very, very frustrating part of Yu-Gi-Oh. And understanding that at the end of the day, this is a literal card game with variance and RNG and gambling and blackjack and wahali, baby. Like sometimes God is just like, your tournament run ends here. There is nothing you can do. And understanding that part and like accepting that some formats might be like a tiny bit sackier than others. Sometimes your deck building fails and sometimes other people's deck building gets there is an important takeaway of the format and shouldn't just be boiled down to format unskillful, ban shifter, or format so cringe and too combo heavy, ban Snake Eye Ash. These are very important takeaways that people should be looking at when it comes to formats, instead of, you know, just pointing the blame at, you know, players or the decks that people are building or certain specific cards, and instead be understanding that this is like a very large overarching issue that stems from Konami. If you guys see Bullet Train, it's like that fucking scene where he's like, the plum does not blame the fox for eating him, they both blame the farmer. Like he blames instead the farmer for planting him there. Like we should not be trying to argue with each other in regards to like, you know, you're a piece of shit for playing shifter, and oh yeah, well you're a piece of shit for playing Snake Eye. We should be like, Konami, why the fuck did you make these cards in the first place? Can you make like normal cards? Like you've been doing this for years, man, come on. But yeah, that's just my quick 2 cents regarding if this format is skillful or not. I think it still is, but I think that there are a lot of degrees in which it is just extremely frustrating for most people. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are in the comment section down below, and yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video.